Fully operational.
All right, welcome to Feedback Friday on a Little Friday. So anyone that's unaware of what Feedback Friday is, basically it's like a show that we've done over the years on YouTube specifically, talking about what makes an email good or really good. And we kind of tear down a little bit of a breakdown of, what we're liking the most about the email, what maybe can be done even better. So it's kind of a fun little exercise, especially on a Friday, a little bit more casual. And for this one specifically, we're going to be talking a little bit more about accessibility. It's definitely becoming a little bit more of a hot topic with some certain laws that have been put in place recently. So wanted to highlight that as we walk through some emails. And I am joined today by one of the smartest email marketers that I know, Kelsey Yin. Hello, Kelsey.
Hello. I don't know about that, but thank you. Thank you. I'll take it.
Awesome. Well, we're from Really Good Emails and Be Free. We do a lot of fun stuff on the email side. Do you want to talk a little bit about your background a little, Kelsey, just to set the stage?
Yeah, sure. I've been doing email for probably close to like 8 years now, and done a lot of B2B, B2C, a little bit of everything. And yeah, just really glad to be here and focusing on email now solely, which is great.
Nice. I've been doing email for, I think, probably about that 10-year mark at least, and have reviewed thousands, if not millions, of emails that have been submitted to Really Good Emails. So hopefully we can speak to this in a fun way. So I feel like I start setting these up more and more pessimistic every time I do them, but most emails are bad or they're meh, But yeah, most emails that we get are not really that great, but we're going to tell you how to make them even better. All right. And one of the things that kind of keeps sticking in my mind, one of these quotes I maybe heard somewhere is it's easier to say something is bad than to say why it's good. And for me, a lot of these teardowns that I've seen online, people always talk about, oh, this sucks, this is bad, kind of starting over from scratch. But to me, it's like more of a challenge to say, oh, I really like this. And that's kind of like what taste is to me. So, and people always ask, what makes a really good email? How do I get, an email maybe submitted to the site? And we kind of broke this out into different categories. I've been kind of thinking about it a lot. Here are some categories that I think for your next campaign in kind of our grading scale, maybe something that you want to focus on. So the first one here is copy. And that's kind of like what it says and how well it says it. There's some points here that kind of we highlight when we try to look at. I think the newest addition here is this AI preview and summary. It's kind of one of those things that I wonder if marketers are going to have to spend a little bit more time as some of these inboxes start, summarizing and previewing a little bit more. And why we have this copy pillar is to separate emails that look good but don't actually communicate anything meaningful or persuasive. So I think for me, an email can look beautiful, but if the copy doesn't actually back up the message, it kind of fails. So the next pillar here is the design and visual communication. That's kind of how it feels and flows throughout the email. There's some points here as well. I think one of the ones are consistent branding is a big one for me. If I go to an email and then I land on the landing page and it feels totally different, that can be a little bit of a dissonance between the user and what their experience might be. And for this one, this is, emails that are hard to scan, feel like there's a little bit too much. I mean, pixels are free, so people add a bunch in, but there's a little bit of a constraint there in actually, guiding people's attention effectively. All right, and there's two more pillars that really stand out. The next one is strategy and intent. Why is this email actually existing out there? What problem is it trying to actually solve for the user? And this one is, again, trying to avoid any emails that might be just super beautiful and look great, but are, kind of aimless campaigns. They don't really have anything good to say to their audience. They're just sending because they need to. And lastly, we have the accessibility pillar, and that's, how it's going to perform across users and devices, what we're going to be focusing probably the most on today. And that's, avoiding emails that, alienate users, making things really slow to load, or the mobile experience is not that great. So just some things to keep in mind for your next campaign. And we got the bonus zone. So on top of, our normal, maybe these 4 pillars that we're looking at every time an email is submitted to Really Good Emails, we kind of add some bonus points for these 2 ones, which are interactivity and innovation. That's kind of how it surprises and delights in the inbox. If there's some kind of new cool tech or some fun gifts, kind of give some bonus points. I think the worst, emails that are predictable or they feel very templatized is kind of what we're trying to avoid. And then lastly, this kind of trust signals column this is a little bit more out there, but this is how it actually kind of respects and reinsures the user when they're opening their email, and that's kind of avoiding emails that maybe feel sketchy or super silly. Maybe have like the in the subject line, those kind of maybe more scummy tactics to maybe get a click. Where in reality, I think we think that email is a relationship that's built over time rather than just a one-time send. So this is kind of our weighting scale for really good emails. Every time we look at an email, I think we try to break this out. You see accessibility is on the lower side of how we evaluate emails, but it's still pretty important when we're grading these emails. So what do you think, Kelsey? Why accessibility now?
Why? I think accessibility is always important, but there are some things that are coming up, including some laws. So we got to stay compliant. But
I don't want to go to email jail for sure. All right, yeah. So we have some new laws. This is kind of why this session right now is pretty punctual. Is we have this European Accessibility Act over in the EU. I think they had a rollout maybe last month in June, but some kind of deadline set for later in, I think, 2026. But there's definitely a lot of laws that are saying now that an email needs to be accessible, that it needs to have good alt text, that it really can't be all images, that the contrast and visual experience has to be set up right. And then we've seen a lot in higher education, a lot of guidelines around having with the ADA having to be at least this YCAG and compliant with some of the emails that people are putting together. So definitely some things to maybe look into and keep in mind when you're moving forward on how accessible your email might be. This is a little quote from a talk that Sarah gave at on spam this year. And it was pretty much that, 28% of adults have some form of disability in the US. If you saw that 28% of your send list went to spam, that would definitely be a bad thing. So thinking about it that way in a way kind of woke me up to say, yeah, let's not leave money on the table if these people are unable to use my email when we actually send it to their inbox. So for me, it's really about designing for connection, not just the compliance. Like those guidelines are important and it's good to have web standards, but I do think when you actually think about connecting with your audience and not just, a checkbox of like, oh, I need to make sure that this is this way. I think it changes. It's a little bit of a mind shift on how you put your emails together. And, when you do design for that edge case of accessibility, you do improve the experience for everyone. You no longer are sending maybe like a 5 megabyte image to people and they're having a poor experience on loading, or maybe adding some alt text when you have limited connectivity can provide a better experience. It really does help everyone. And I think just understanding that, you're not alone on accessibility. It's really a shared effort between people, team, tools, especially with different, tools out there. It's becoming a lot easier to check for some of these things, while it might have been more of a tedious task in the past. So a little bit of a plug for Be Free, just because, it's sponsored by Be Free. But right now there's a tool out there called Be Free Smart Check, and that's looking for different alt text, missing links, things like that. But soon there's been some internal pitching for some additional accessibility features to be added in the future. So now we're going to look at some of your emails. Kelsey, you sent out the email asking everyone on this webinar to submit emails, right?
Oh, was that a my thing?
Yeah,
I thought you were going to do that one.
No, that was your job. But luckily, instead of doing that, asking you for your emails, which is, we're probably just going to get the best of the best emails. You want to send in, an email that you're afraid to look at. But if you subscribe to this webinar, maybe we took a peek at your emails and we're going to chat about them today. So look forward to it. So this first one is from Native Pet. This one was submitted on an email submission to Really Good Emails. And I thought we could chat through what we like about it and from an accessibility standpoint. What stood out for you, Kelsey, for this first one?
I think what stands out for me is obviously that hero. It's very in your face. You kind of can't look away. But it is kind of busy too. And my concern would be because the background image, because it's an image, if it's not going to show up from an accessibility standpoint, if they don't have images turned on, like nowhere else does it say 40% off in this message. So you kind of miss that main point throughout the email. But otherwise, yeah, like super, super eye-catching graphics for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely caught my eye, but I think looking at the accessibility lens, you start seeing some maybe issues, like you said, that 40% off. Limited time is kind of hard to read on this, different colored background.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
There you go. I think I was surprised that they made this. I don't know if it's like a small thing, but the Amazon logo is bigger than their logo, which I'm like, okay, I don't know. But I do a little like that connection with something like Prime Day that just happened, like letting people know that, you're available to shop that. I think for me also, like this code kind of blends in. I feel like I usually see them like visually stand out a little bit differently. If I'm just kind of skimming this email, maybe this 10-pack perp wouldn't stand out to me as much. But overall on desktop mobile, I feel like, they have that one design kind of split between the two, but I think it does an okay job. But I think on the accessibility side, definitely an all image email, definitely a slice and dice type of thing. So maybe some opportunities there to make that a little bit more accessible, at least some of this text be live text in here. Exactly. As Janessa says in the chat, can't copy paste the code if it's not live text. So very good point there.
True.
Okay, well, we have some accessibility checklist items here that we can look at. So first off, we got this contrast. It does pass. It has some fun brand colors. And looking at some of the YCAG guidelines, it does look like for the majority of the text stylings, this is readable enough for passing, at least on the AA, which is honestly the standard that I think most people abide to. So good to see that a lot of that text is sort of readable, but as we said, maybe this limited time text that is a little bit more stylistic will not be visible as much. Next up, just a preview. This is a screenshot from a Parcel, which is like in the browser code editor, but they have a nice little preview that shows what people that may be impacted by color blindness can see, or different, colored things. So a more of a blurry visual. I feel like there's like a design saying that's like, you step away from your screen and maybe see if your email still makes sense, even if it is like a more on a blurry type of side. It's just something to keep in mind when you're designing some of your emails to make sure that everything's large enough, everything's visible enough for some people. So this is the bad one. We're now in the alt text fail zone. So definitely that main hero. We just get Amazon Prime Day, the daily over and over again. So from a screen reader accessibility alt text style, we don't really get the main offer communicated to us, which I think is like the baseline or the bare minimum, in my opinion. All right. Well, here we are in the pros and opportunities part. As I said, it's not cons, opportunities. It's a safe space. So just some opportunities to think for the next campaign if you're interested. First, for me, some standout pros is, I like it. It's pretty skimmable. I like the one product focus especially. And I think someone said, checking the alt message views. Yeah, there's a couple different code editors that you can use that will turn off the images and kind of give you that preview. And then for some opportunities for me, this one, again, as we said, all images could use some better alt text.
I like the brand identity. Like it's a very, very strong brand identity. Like they did a really nice job promoting their sale, especially around Prime Day. But yeah, definitely some opportunities, making some text wide and just small other changes.
Yeah, solid baseline, but always room for looking up. All right, we got another one. The next one up here is from Jenki, the Jenki Journal. A pretty cool little matcha brand that I think it would be fun to chat through. So what stood out to you for this?
I love like all of the unique little illustrations. Like they're very custom, right? They look like they're made just for their brand. They're not like some stock illustrations and things like that. So it's like really brand reinforcing. And I like kind of the way that they do their titles, where it's very segmented, so you can easily skim down the email and say like section by section what interests me. Thought that was really nice.
Yeah, definitely a good color palette again. To me, I think the biggest standout is the center text. From an accessibility standpoint, I know, the 3 to 4 line limit is sort of how it's easy to follow. But when we get to sections like this, where It's very center text. To me, this becomes a little bit harder to read that center text, especially with like the longer text. So that's definitely a flag for me. Also, this is all images. So for people that, don't, use any sort of assisted text, again, it's not live text, so it may be a little bit hard to read. And as Veronica said, some of these sections definitely are a little harder to read. The contrast is a little tricky, but overall, I think this one is a cool email. I think it kind of nails the tone, like the messaging is really good. But on the visual side, maybe there could be some improvements definitely to focus on. Well, we like this one so much, we actually had our design team take a little stab and be free to kind of reimagine what that email might look like with some more live text. So wanted to lay this one out here. You can see that, with live text in, it's a little easier to read. We're doing a little left align text here. I'm still using like that fun color palette, but kind of simplifying it a little bit more. I think this, to me, it reads a little bit better, is a little bit more easy to use. So definitely like this one a little bit better. And we can also look at on the mobile view here. So a little bit better experience, again, with the CTAs being a little bit larger in a more live text friendly format that people still kind of get the same message. One other little remix that we did is actually, I think, focusing more on some different imagery. Some of these transitional sections were kind of fun that the design team wanted to look at. And then maybe making that accessibility just even better to sort of make that readability just a little bit better here. So a fun little experiment, trying out some different layouts here, reimagining this email a little bit. So,
Yeah. And I think another point from the original email, there was a lot of all caps text for like very long sentences that were all caps. And that can kind of start to get a little hard to read as well. And we made some of those changes. And there wasn't actually any CTAs higher up, little buttons in the original email as well. So those are some ads, looks like.
definitely. Okay, all right. Well, we can look at this contrast. As we see, some sections are readable with a little bit more high contrast, but as we see that most of this like body text here, people might struggle with in some ways. So very cool on brand sort of messaging that matches, a matcha brand, but some failures here when it comes to some of that text being fully accessible. And then we're moving over to the alt text. This one definitely hurt me. That long newsletter type of content where at the end of the day, there is no alt text really being added to any of those images. So definitely a poor experience on a mobile device or other, devices like that. Like we said, some pros, some illustrations and photos definitely feel on brand to that brand. I think they definitely support that message. I did really like that, the color palette overall, and it's some good storytelling throughout that email. I think the opportunities for me are definitely, that all image size, some of that center text, maybe visually just have it a little bit more easier to scan and read and keep it moving. All right. This is one of the first, maybe you're out there in the chat, but one of the first emails we got from Namuk. I think I'm hopefully saying that right. So what stood out to you on this first one?
That main hero image, the shape is very eye-catching, but it makes the text overlaid on top very hard to read because of the backgrounds. So that's kind of like the first thing that stands out. And then it's just kind of a lot of text, and I don't see anything else until the button.
Yeah, I know this welcome right there. Like, yeah, some of this visually right here gets a little cluttered and a little hard to read. I do like this maybe being like a GIF. That could be kind of fun to maybe try out. We've seen a couple more brands adding this navigation more like in the footer as like shoppable links, but not totally a bad thing. We do have some center text here, but I think, it kind of allows within this line, a number of lines that is still relatively readable. And I do like how this promo code sort of stands out from the visually, the rest of the email. And as someone said before, it's easy to copy paste then. I think here's really interesting. Like, I think this is a good guideline where, what to expect is kind of a cool piece to add in that first welcome email to kind of let people know the cadence of the emails that they might be getting. And then we transition more to like this blog kind of evergreen content, I'm assuming, looking at some different inspirational posts. But for me, I think the one piece here is it doesn't really connect a lot to the actual product. Like if I just received this email, it might be kind of unsure about what they're actually selling me. I think it's like some, kids outdoor clothing based on some of these images, but I think maybe putting in some popular categories or some bestsellers or something like that to this initial email may just reinforce the product benefits and why I subscribe to this one. All right, well, we can look at the accessibility side. On the contrast side, definitely some of this text, as we said, is a little bit hard to read. This welcome text fails on some of these larger texts, but a good on-brand sort of fun color palette that, for the most part, is relatively good to read. And we get a pass on the alt text. I think down here that there's some overall links to some blog content. What tool are we using? So for contrast, there's a free tool that I think it's just like YCAG contrast checker. You can type in the foreground and background colors and give yourself an accessibility ratio and score to actually look at some of the contrast. All right, for pros, we have pretty good on brand. Definitely that discount stood out to me. Good to set expectations, and I like that content blocking. And then opportunities, a little hard to read on that first H1, and adding some products. Anything else for this one, Kelsey?
Yeah, I think some more opportunities would be more color blocking. I was drawn more towards like the bottom section with like the small little color headlines with the white background versus like the all with that peachy color. It kind of like made me want to go look at the white. So I probably would have done more color blocking, especially around the promo offer, just so that it stood out more. But yeah, overall, not bad.
Not bad. All right. Next email is from San Francisco Standard. A nice little membership upsell with a pretty short, simple one, but I thought it'd be fun to look at this one.
I love like the hero. I think it's so fun. It's such a cool like use of their merch in order to tell the story. But yeah, again, I don't know what it is about me, but like in all caps kind of like sentence for me is just like my mind can't understand all the letters. Um, and so that I probably would have maybe either worked on like the kerning or like the spacing of the letters to make it like more readable because they all kind of connect. But yeah, I do like the blue pop on the button that really helps stand out on the yellow, which is nice. For me, like the biggest thing is the bottom and the top don't match to me for some reason. Like it feels like two separate emails.
Yeah, I feel that. Kind of looking at the desktop and mobile views here where they kind of switch up this view. But I think, like as you said, it would be nice to kind of bring in maybe some of this yellow throughout that email. Maybe it feels like a little bit more on brand or consistent. Kind of every switch you make is a little bit of a difference. This like general hero, honestly, I think maybe this could be a little bit better of a footer. I know this takes up like kind of a lot of space on that initial load, and kind of separating that first CTA pretty far down into the scroll. I do like this graphic. Maybe there could be some like movement for a GIF that could be fun. And I think, like you said, connecting like this bag is maybe something that you get when you subscribe. It's not a totally clear in this message that is like the case. There's, you get some benefits on this, but maybe like some additional images, either from like previewing content or I don't know, maybe there's some like ways to like bring in some like customer testimonial or type of things for publication. I know this is like kind of tricky of an upsell email, but yeah, to me, just a little bit of a disconnect of like some of this content actually like making me want to really become a member right away.
Yeah, I'm still wondering, like, do I get the bag? Like, it's not listed as a perk, but
I hope you get the
or
bag.
Like, do I
Can
get
I
it?
just get the bag? So I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think for this one, some pros and opportunities. We like that the CTA stood out. Definitely scannable, a little bit of focus message with that custom illustrations. But yeah, do we get the bag? Some, maybe align the sections a little bit more. All right, we switching up to a nonprofit email from this Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. A really fun design that I actually really liked. That is a little bit content heavy, but let's walk through it.
First impression, it is copy heavy. Um, I sadly am not a person that reads like the full email. I'm very scanny when it comes to that, but I do like the left aligned. It helps kind of guide me down the email. If I were just like looking at it, I'm only focusing on like kind of the hyperlink text, which I really like that they hyperlink text within the bullets and stuff because it helps me focus and scan down the email, especially when it is so copy heavy. When I went back and I reread through the message, like it's a very nice, warm message of, thank you for your donations. And this is how what we were able to achieve with all of that. And so I kind of want to see more like upbeat because if I'm just kind of scanning it and seeing the CTA of Explore our annual report, like that may not get me to actually want to do that. But if I knew like the full story, then I'm more likely to read it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely think that someone over there is thinking about accessibility because this alt text is going to be really good when we look at it. But one little piece that I've seen is when you do link in text, it's good to have both a color and an underline to visually identify that it is a link. And some people only, don't include the underline. And I think from an accessibility standpoint, you're kind of supposed to have both to definitely back up that something is actually tappable or clickable. So that's good. But as you said, a lot of content, a little front heavy. Maybe this could be split up into a couple different emails in this welcome flow. So definitely a lot of information that is probably helpful to someone. Maybe this annual report isn't exactly as compelling to get my click just from this kind of visual view.
Mhm.
So we did like this one as well. So we did have the design team kind of take a little bit of a try at this one. So this one, I think we tried to just bring in some more of the visual yellow here in that initial email and breaking up that section with some different kind of bulleted style icons to maybe make it a little bit more scannable or readable, a little bit more visually interesting. And I think also connecting a little bit more with that visual element, like I think people's faces people identify with. So the more you can maybe bring in some of that personality into an email, make it stand out a little bit different. And then that mobile view, a little bit cleaner on the scroll. So definitely a solid email, but maybe some opportunities to make it visually find a little bit different, stand out just a little bit more. Accessibility on the alt text side, definitely a pass. It's a little hard to read, but they do a really good job here with the accessibility. So I think it says like a medium-skinned woman with long dark hair wears a dress. So definitely some descriptive text here. Yeah, really good. I do think there's an opportunity, maybe that you can look into styled alt text. There's ways to make your alt text visually look a little bit better in this view. So a little bit more of an advanced thing that you might have to code for, but maybe an opportunity there. All right. So the pros and opportunities for this one, I love those hyperlinks, really good alt text, real imagery, doesn't feel like it's some stock kind of email. And then what are some opportunities that you liked, Kelsey?
Maybe increasing the font size a little bit too, because it is a lot of text and it kind of can get small and hard to read. Adding some warmth in there and helping with the flow and the message.
Nice. You need a budget. Definitely fave on really good emails. We have a few other emails featured. Definitely a standout one to me. Can take a peek at that email. Really fun background image here repeating. This one was really fun. Maybe a little text heavy here. Maybe you could cut like a paragraph or so. But I like this conversational tone and some of these the illustrations here, welcoming people to you need a budget, which I honestly do need a budget. So this is great for me.
Yeah, it's very text heavy. Again, sadly, I don't read emails. So, I kind of scan through it and then see like the middle section. I don't really kind of know what I'm supposed to do or click just by the scanning of it, which was kind of sad for me. But I love the tone. the messaging was really nice, but I think it could be tightened up a little bit. Yeah, I think like it was a nice color block in the middle. I wish they did a little bit more with that to kind of help sell their message. But yeah, overall, I think the background is kind of fun. And is it blinking actually?
I don't think it's blinking, but
Oh, okay. I was like, is it a gift? Um, no, but it's fun and it kind of adds that brand identity. Like if I were to see this background again, I definitely know who they are. But it is kind of bordering neon for me. Like it's a little bright. Um,
definitely.
so I don't know, maybe kind of
Yeah, this is an
bring it up
interesting
a little bit.
experiment. Someone said in the chat, maybe, background images don't work. You can set just a solid fallback kind of for this, background color that doesn't include the illustrations. So I don't think it takes anything away from the message without adding it. Is that fallback in place, but it maybe is like a visually fun addition to make it just stand out a little bit more. But as you said, I do like this section that says next steps. Like it is clear they're really trying to outline what you want to do. And they're showing you, okay, in the next email, you're going to get, we're going to talk about additional things. So it's nice to set the stage up there, but maybe there is a way to maybe add like a better CTA here.
Mhm.
I think this like conversational, almost plain text type of email probably maybe does work well for them. I'm sure maybe they've tested a little bit of both. So a fun welcome email. It's nice to like connect like this like little sign off here on the bottom. So a fun one, but maybe some opportunities to try out some other things and see how the testing, if it works even better.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's about building relationships, and I think they do that really well.
Cool. So again, like we said, solid brand voice. The visual identity is pretty nice. Gives for the email series. Maybe there could be an indicator of like somewhere in that email that even says like email 1 of 4 or something. That's even sets it even a little bit better, letting know how many onboarding emails they're going to get. And then I think opportunities, we added some maybe clear CTAs, what's next for the user, a little bit more defined. And that neon background definitely stand out.
It's just like bordering on neon. A little bit less.
And Kelsey only likes emails black and white. No visual. All right, we have an all image email from Riddle that I think we could look at. I think the content was pretty good, but the all image lockup kind of stood out to us on why it wouldn't really be featured on really good emails. So we're at the beach now with Riddle. There's some really long alt text, center text here that's getting a little hard to read for me.
The center alignment too, it kind of is a little bit difficult for me, but yeah, I think it's a solid email, and I don't think it necessarily needs to be all image based off the layout. Like it could easily be done with live text, making those changes. And then again, I mean, I don't want to be that person, but like the long sentences of like all caps, like I just have such a hard time with that when they go down here with like the nude beach milky spray lotion and things like that. Like if it were just normal, sentence cap or even title caps, would help me kind of read it and see it. But I mean, all in all, it's a nice email. It just could have a little bit of tweaks to make it a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah, it's not just you. I think a lot of people are impacted with something with like an alt text being a little bit harder to read. For this one, I feel like for me, I like lifestyle imagery. I think it's really cool to do that brand building experiment, but I need to like actually connect back to a product shot. So I think an email that balances both lifestyle imagery, you're seeing the product on people with like a shopping section that actually shows like a card or something with like that image broken out, or it's like its own standalone product shot. That one really kind of makes it feel a little bit more real, a little bit more accessible to me for some reason. So like having this kind of broken out from this lifestyle into like its own product card, I think would add a little bit more to me. And maybe in general, just adding like some more benefits around each of these like different products here could be fun to try. So as we said here, contrast, pretty good accessibility. Honestly, I was unsure about this when I was actually looking at it, but it does look like this is relatively readable throughout the different text sections. And alt text, a little long and repetitive. I think what I've sort of learned the more I've dived into alt text is what I used to do is really just take that image, the text in that image, and then actually just translate it one to one. And I've sort of learned that better alt text is actually a little bit shorter, uses more natural phrasing, and it's kind of a new set of text that's not just a one to one translation from the text in the image. Good seasonal hook, nice photography, a little luxury feel, and some different opportunities here, and a little bit more live text would be great to see as well. All right, we're moving a little quick, but we got some emails. I want to leave some time for a little Q&A at the end. So we got Smoosh, which fun brand. So what does your millennial brain say about this email?
My millennial brain likes it.
I mean, I never knew I needed a bag for my soap, but now I do.
I don't know why, but I waddle. Especially with the ooze. I don't know. I think ooze is like a very prominent thing of my childhood.
Okay. You're pretty into goo, I've heard. Yeah, I got that. Good to know.
No, this is a fun brand, fun email. I like it. I think they do a nice job with these later sections. The text over the image is a little bit hard to see with like a busy background, but instead of doing the slice and dice thing, it could easily be live text instead. So there's some opportunities there. But overall, I like the nice like blocking of messages. And then they put the title and then the image and then the copy, which kind of helps put everything together in a nice little sandwich, instead of like the image being too far away from all the text in the copy, which I enjoy. So
yeah, I agree. I think from the accessibility side, to me, this section was a little hard to read visually with like the visual noise of like these background tiles along the text. So maybe there's a way for them to do that a little bit differently. I did like generally kind of scrolling through this email. Like you said, I think it sort of guides your eye down throughout these different sections. Why this has to be an all image email, I don't know, because this could obviously be a live text here with a different CTA, which honestly might help them on mobile a little bit. I think, these CTAs are pretty big tapping wise, but that text could be a little bit small to read on that smaller screen. Yeah, it's weird to me, like when you do a link like this in an image, like it doesn't really make sense. It's like a fake link. It's like you can't really actually tap that link. But and then solid footer, I think they could make this a little bit more accessible again with like these different sections. But I think kind of connecting to some brands, having this more like bottom navigation, like we talked about earlier, definitely something that we're seeing a lot more, especially with like these D2C brands. Okay, contrast, we got a maybe, like I said, in that top section, some of that text, a little bit failures here on that hero image. The rest of it, pretty good, but I would love, like you said, just kind of a solid color background without that texture. That's a little bit more easy to read. And alt text, we got a maybe. As we said, we're looking for maybe more like 125 characters max for alt text, simplifying that message, not just keeping it one-to-one. Changing that message a little bit more easier for screen readers. Okay, some pros for me, a fun, timely, fun launch email. I do think, again, like in the other opportunity side, there could be some more product shots in that email, the actual launch that support, make it feel a little bit more shoppable rather than just only lifestyle photos. We still got a little bit of time, so we got a few more emails here. Education first. I wanted to highlight this one because it is our first dark mode email that we have. So dark mode, definitely something to consider. There's some code that you can set specific style for people that prefer dark mode. I have dark mode always turned on because I'm a night kind of guy. But just a different view here about maybe looking at your emails if you do set up some dark mode, what that may look like on different screens and how that changes your email visually to the viewer.
Well, first I will say that like the experience on dark mode and not dark mode are like identical, which is amazing. And is very hard to do and rarely happens. So good job for them. But yeah, they do a nice job. And I think Janessa said like a 60-40 rule for images and live text. And I think they kind of do that. I mean, they have There's sections where they have images, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, some of this is live text.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think they do a good job of the mix, where they're incorporating their images and stuff. But yeah, all in all, I think it's a nicely done, thoughtful message. Yeah, I think there is a lot of images, but I think what I like actually is this little blue square in the corner. Like it kind of helps create that consistency, even though they're all very bright, very different kind of style images. That kind of anchors, I think, the visualness of it, which is nice. Makes it more cohesive.
I like this layout in general. I think a lot of travel brands are going to use this like an aspirational, visually interesting photography. I think for this one, this feels a little bit too stock for me. Like these people are like, people in a meeting having fun. Like, I think it makes sense. Like it visually kind of matches this, but when an email kind of feels too much like a template or, a little bit too stock, I know you might not have like the budget to take original photography, but it just feels like a little bit too much when you're relying so much on this. But that's my initial thought. The mobile view, I don't know if this is totally right, visually in this kind of browser, but could be a little bit better on the sizing of this content. But it's nice to see that they have dark mode. It's nice to see a little hover effect on this get connected button. So nice little touches like that make this one stand out. But with the content, it might be hard to make this visually a little bit more cohesive, not so stock feeling. So alt text, I think we get a maybe. Some of these images could be a little bit more descriptive, but pretty, an okay experience, but relying so much on those images, it doesn't really leave a lot of content throughout there. Dark mode, we do give it a pass. So as you see here, there's a media query. It prefers color scheme dark. That way you can start defining some different styling, but you can see the difference between these two visual views. So definitely something to keep in mind when you're putting your email together to potentially add some dark mode styling and test that additionally. So as we said, good to see both dark mode and the live view sort of having a pretty good experience. Some opportunities, a little bit more, a mix of content could be nice to make it stand out a little bit more. On the home stretch here, we got another one from Genesis Health Clubs. Pretty long email. What is your initial thoughts, Kelsey?
Yeah, it's a lot of text. It's a lot of text. This is my first time seeing this one, so this is my live.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's the font, I think, is like too condensed. Like I'd like to see a little bit more spacing between the lines, especially for like scannability. It's a little small font. I do like that it's left aligned though. It kind of helps with the reading of it. Yeah, I think though we kind of need to understand what the goal of this email is, right? Is it to schedule my tour? Because if it is, then I think like we can parse down this message a little bit more, or we can add some more visuals to make these bullet points and why I want to do that a little bit more evident, because right now I'm kind of like missing it. And I don't know that necessarily all this at the bottom is necessary if our main goal is just to schedule a tour. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, definitely a little heavy in the beginning. Like I think it starts off relatively strong. Scheduling your tour should be that main CTA, but breaking this out, maybe there's some some of the other emails visually you could link this to some different iconography or something. 14 pixels. I think 14 to 16 for body text is usually like what we maybe recommend. A lot going on. I think they could just like simplify this to make it feel like, oh, I'm new to this brand. Like add a phone number or something. Like if you have any questions, reach out. I think they could add a little bit more personality to this section. For some reason, a little hard to read for me. And then these sections, just kind of feels like I'm getting an ad on some like weird weight loss website to me, honestly. It feels like a little sketch to me. So it doesn't really connect with maybe my goals of like joining a gym. So
yeah, the blue button on the purple.
Yeah, a little hard. We also had our design team take a little bit of a stab at this one. So visually a little bit different. Just a little bit switch up, pulling in some more of like their actual brand colors from their website. So still a little bit longer, but maybe there's a little bit more connection here around like scheduling the tour and then kind of breaking out that what makes this different section into some more like, live text, visually stylistic stuff. So yeah. And then I like this section here. I feel like this feels a little bit more luxury, a little bit more polished, some of their brand colors, but I also kind of think they need a new logo, but that's just kind of me. But but a little bit better of an experience to me, a little bit more scannable, a little bit more readable. I think kind of going for a more luxury feel is the way to go for that one. Alt text, I had to give it a fail. I've been pretty nice so far, but I did see this one that just says Untitled Design 58, which that was a really good alt text. It really gives me context of what the image is.
Really gives me context of like your computer and the untitled designs you have saved in there.
Exactly. We got a header 1v2, which I also really like that alt text. So definitely it's an opportunity to make that a little bit more accessible to the end user. Don't expose yourself as much maybe. So, all right. Well, that kind of is wrapping it up. We got a lightning round. I don't want people, missing out on us looking at their email. So I think we'll do a quick one, maybe like a minute each for some remaining emails, if that's cool with you, Kelsey.
Cool.
All right, we got this email from Plaid. Very fun email. Nice use of live text here. I like this one. How about you?
I like it too. I mean, as soon as you showed it, I went, ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like the use of their colors. I assume this is like very brand identity for them to have that kind of like glow effect, which is really nice. And they incorporate it throughout the whole email, which is cool. I don't know, some of the text, I don't know if it would pass like an accessibility like that lighter blue color on the dark blue. But yeah, overall I like this message. Like it's very easily scanned. They have CTAs for each of the sections. They have like a nice like flow down that helps me kind of navigate the email.
Yeah, I like this one. I think I like the brand colors. I do feel like when people kind of have like this normal dark mode, this isn't dark mode optimized. It's just kind of like their brand colors. But I do think this like maybe higher contrast stands out to me. So yeah, I like this. I think they did a pretty good job of the mobile view as well, kind of switching up some of the content. And it's a nice mix of like these plain text CTAs and then these CTA buttons. I think that works pretty well. Nice. We got this one from Clean Claws. Welcome email with a little coupon code at the top. What are your thoughts?
I like the big coupon first. The first thing I see is this big coupon, and if that's what you want people to do, then I think that's a good job. But again, I think someone mentioned in the chat, is it highlightable or is it an image?
It's an image. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, it would be nice to actually have it to be copy paste. I think they mentioned it lower in the text.
Okay.
You could copy it here. But I think when you add like this border around text, people don't want it. Yeah, I mean, it's harder to make something like that live text. So not necessarily standing out to me like that you visually need this coupon style. I do feel like that's kind of like an older remnant from like the more print design people that design emails still. Like no one's really cutting out coupons as much, even though no hate to the coupon cutters out there, but visually, I think this could be a little bit more stronger, focusing on like that product or more like a welcome email, using more maybe some brand colors to make this pop a little bit more. So that's it for me. And then I think this section here, like you said, a lot of things going on. We had this little like sign off from Courtney, but but yeah, she's got a lot to say. She's got a PPS, a PS. So I like to see like when you mention someone's name, like include a photo or like do like a solid break. So to me, I think this email could be like cut off here. It's good to hear, that they, do some of these like, addiction recovery, donating profits. It's like really a nice piece, but maybe there's like other visual ways to break that out just because this email starts to get a little long. It feels a little bit disjointed. All right. We got this one from Spot Insurance.
I mean, anytime I see a puppy in a picture, I'm like, oh, so I like this one, but let me look at it from an email perspective and not just a puppy perspective. Yeah, I like that they have like a high CTA like right up at the top. Yeah, it's a solid email. It's a little simple and plain, but like I think they do a really nice job of highlighting all of the plans and all of the special spots where you can click and get your own individualized information. And then I like that little yellow section in the middle. It's really nice.
Yeah, I feel like there's maybe like a better way to like there's so much of this email content wise that I'm like, there's got to be a better way to communicate this like in a one sentence or like a paragraph. So I thought this is interesting. I like these price comparisons, this is, how much we would cover or something. I think there's maybe like a better visually way to like
Yeah, maybe
highlight
like
that
column.
savings. Yeah, something like highlighting that savings more like at the top. And yeah, like it's good to lean on some of this like pet photography, but maybe there's just a better way to sort of organize this one. And then these other sections start to feel like a little bit too with all the emojis. Like visually, I think it's a good breakup, but there's just a lot going on, and these different sections just feel like they're kind of like pieced together, kind of a
Mhm.
Frankenstein email. So a little bit more cohesive, getting people back to that price, to that quote. Definitely the main CTA, but it's got to be a little bit of a better way to maybe do that visually here, a little bit more tighter, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, next one. I know you don't speak a lot of German, but I was gonna give it a shot here. What do you think?
Visually, it's really nice. Like it has a lot of brand identity. The colors are coming through throughout the products and the email. The icons are nice. It does feel a little busy as we get lower, but yeah. And then I do like that little statement up at the top too, where it's like that user. I don't know what it says, but I assume it's some sort of a um, social proof type of a thing. That's really nice to include. And then again, got the coupon. I see the little dotted lines, which help me navigate there. It's copy paste. Yay.
Yay. Yeah, to me it's like nice that they included this as live text, but I wish they just would have included a little bit more
Oh,
live text.
yeah.
Yeah, especially some of these like smaller text sections that could be a little bit more hard to read on mobile. So pretty solid one. I do think, like you said, a lot of text that's going on. It's nice to show that like some social proof, letting you know that, hey, follow us on Instagram. We're active on there. So not the worst email. I think
It starts to
maybe,
get a little busy though as you scroll.
yeah, I think maybe just pare down a little bit more, trying to figure out like the best messaging to these people. Maybe split it up into like, one big section and then two supporting sections would probably be where I'd like cut it off. So just a little bit shorter. And then we'll end it one with this highlights one. A nice little welcome email here. What are your thoughts?
I liked it. I think it's really nice. It's really fun. They do a great job with like the branding. It looks like there's that nice little gift for shop it. Yeah, I like that they keep like the circles like throughout the whole message. Like it's at the top, it's in the hero image. Let's see, the 20% off really stands out. Again, it's all image, it looks like, which is sad. I think they definitely could have done like a split, but yeah, I think it's like design wise really well done. It's really consistent throughout, and the color choices that they use like help me pinpoint like all the specific information that they want me to read first. So I think they did a really nice job with the design aspect.
Like you said, I think visually pretty good, like using like kind of white space to maybe separate
Mhm.
these sections. I do feel like this transition could be a little bit better where you kind of just catch me with that gift kind of scrolling down, but I usually don't like the Z pattern style of an email, but for me, I think this one is actually okay. So I would just say live text, trying to make these sections like you can definitely do like a split here, a 2-column split where this is live text and this is an
Mhm.
image. And then on mobile, you could probably stack them or change up that view to make it even better. But pretty solid welcome email. Just on the accessibility side, maybe some opportunities for this one. All right. Well, thanks for all joining today. It was fun walking through some of your emails. Let us know if your email got reviewed. Hopefully, it was a fun time. All right, cool, Kelsey. Thanks for jumping on. Thanks, everyone, for stopping by. Have a fantastic Friday and see you on the next one. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
A long sleep.